Hello, this is it. This is what we've been waiting for. After the sprint race yesterday, we are here at last. It is the Turkish Grand Prix in Sunday League Virtual Season 3, and I could not be more excited to bring this to you on this very day. Let's see the drivers on their way through qualifying. Eurist, who came second last race behind his teammate in what is been called one of the biggest bottles in Sunday League Virtual history. He was looking set for the win, 10 seconds ahead of his teammate. Didn't manage it in the end after being screwed over by a patch of rain. He's not on provisional pole. It's his mate Jaruni, the Belarusian driver, looking for his first ever pole position, I believe it would be, in Sunday League Virtual. Certainly hasn't had the best of car always made available to him. FVR really struggled to get upgrades last season. They had a bit of a purple patch with that this season. They're still not one of the faster, even in the midfield, in terms of cars. Things stay as they are near the top of the timing sheets. We'll have to see how the cars can do coming on to their final lap. Before that, we'll have a very quick look at the upgrades that came through, just popping up at the bottom of your screen. It is grip for BFX, WTech, KRT, BAV, PRG, THX and FUR, speed and turbo for SFR, and it's turbo only for VLO. How did qualifying go? Well, we know how qualifying went. It looks like it's going to be Jaruni on pole position. What a fantastic effort it is from the FVR driver, and that is a very, very well earned pole. I'm not sure if he scored a pole position before. I would have to go and check that in my stats, but that is certainly incredibly impressive from the FVR driver. Eurus starts on the front row. That's a shocker. In that BAV, no real surprise there. Rito starts in third position. Kubo will be starting from fourth place today. Not bad at all for the Team Velocity driver. Then we've got Spuda in fifth place. WTech with a reasonably good qualifying. 5th and 10th, Spuda and Andres. They've not had the very best of things of recent times, but they're sort of looking to get their groove back going. No, I can confirm Jaruni's highest ever qualifying position in the league was 3rd place last season at Mugello, the race that Goose then went on to win just one season later. Jake Brad in 6th for BAV, it's Julo in 7th for Porsche. Sobel starts 8th for BFX, 9th for Bluebell. Mentioned Andres already, it's an all SFR 6th row. It's Anti ahead of Vladinator, Hetmenica right ahead of Ikoloski, starting 14th place. That's one of his higher grids position starts. 15th for Grandy, 16th at Plamazing, and 17th for the Game on Goose. P18 for Pit Crew, 19th is Kamikaze, and Hanandi still struggling in that Nuri Racing team car. We'll have a look at the team overview as well, why don't we? Of course, BAV looking very strong so far in the season, and I don't think they are yet able to mathematically... Are they able to wrap up the championship? I think they might be today with a very strong performance. If that is the case, you'll find out after post-race delegation, all standings and everything aside. We will not know in the commentary box today if BAV have scored mathematically enough points, but you'll certainly find out by the end of the actual broadcast itself. SFR, 3rd place, but no tokens left for them. They've done very well to get to that spot in what hasn't been a very good car so far, but now that 4.3 rating off the back of a double upgrade last week has gotten them into some, this week rather, has gotten them into some pretty good stature. But WTech closing in behind them, same with VLO, PRG and FVR, all pretty close, and they have a lot more tokens left in the bank. Will SFR tumble down from that 3rd place? It should be a really exciting fight for 3rd place in the constructors, even 2nd if BFX can't keep up to scratch their good performances and keep that gap going. Finally, we'll just have a little look at the token usage today. 2 for Rito, none for Sobel. That sort of makes sense, but Sobel still a decent starting position. 8th, Rito in 3rd. It's 2 for Kubo, who was our winner here last year. Bluebell, none, 9th place. Good car for Team Velocity. 3 for Spuda, none for Andres, they're 5th and 10th. None for Hanandi, who starts last. 4 for Aplamazing, who is 16th on the grid. Then next up, we've got Jake and Eurist not spending any is Jake. He still starts in a respectable 6th. 2 for Eurus, will start on the front row as mentioned before. Hetmenica using none starts in 13th place, and Julo with 2 tokens starting in 7th. Then none for Grandy, Pit Crew, Vlad or Anti or Goose. They'll all start outside the top 10, but still respectably so for SFR at least. 4 for Jaruni, who did take pole position. 3 for Ikolowski, who starts 14th. That is all, and we are very, very ready to get underway here for the Turkish Grand Prix. 53 laps of virtual racing ahead of us. We're underway here in Istanbul. Eurus gets a good start. Jaruni goes to cover him off pretty instantly. Rito already crawls his way through into 2nd place. He's going side by side with Eurus. Kubo looks to pick up the scraps in the background. He's had a very nice start indeed. Jake Brad behind still. Spuda's dropped a position down to 6th. Julo, as he was still. Kubo now ahead of his countryman Rito, who didn't do well in his home Grand Prix last week. Eurus was on the podium that day. Kubo looking to get back on the podium for Team Velocity, who've had a bit of an up and down season. Not the worst car, not the best, not quite the title fighters they were in seasons 1 and 2. Spuda with an excellent overtake around the outside of both Rito and Julo, and Jake in the background looking to pick up any scraps that he can. It's all pretty spaced out between the front 4. Rito, Julo still side by side. Jake on the mediums looking to make an impact here. He does have a very fast car down into the final hairpin. Can he make the move to the outside? Will Rito give him the room? He just takes a little bit of grass re-entering from the runoff. Rito, no fault of his there, but Jake couldn't make the move stick, and we've got all these drivers raring to go on their fresh tyres. Spuda hunting down Kubo as it stands. Softs for the Korean man, hards for the Polish man. Which is going to prevail? Spuda gets a really lovely run down that kinked straight, and he will drag himself up into 3rd place, looking for a podium for the first time in a little while for the WTech team. They were pretty prolific towards the end of last season. This season they started off with a good car, and it's just not quite worked out for them at certain points, but I'm sure they'll be back in contention very much so soon. Our podium sitter last time out, it's Vladinator, 16th place for him. At the moment, he was behind the BAVs as we see the KRTs swapping position just down the order. Hernandi and Applamazing is going to look to make up some positions. Hopefully 4 tokens won't be a waste. Sobel and Anti fight it out outside the top 10. Hetmenica has moved himself up into 10th place. Jake's lost a position. Julo's gained that off him. Rito, Kubo, Spuda, Urist and Jaruni, who is running away at the top. All, 5 of the top 6 drivers are on the softs. Kubo holding steady in 4th, his starting spot, still on the hard compound tyres, actually chasing down Spuda as it stands here. Spuda not with the fastest lap time on the last lap. I believe he was, nearly a second slower than Kubo, and Kubo's allowed to catch right up to the back of him on lap 6 here of the 53 we have to race. Big fight going on at the back. What's happening over here? It's Hernandi, it's Kamikaze, it's Goose, and just ahead of them it's Ikolowski, Pit Crew, Vladinator, now all joined by Hetmenica, who fell right down the order there. That is pretty disappointing. He's lost at least 4 or 5 positions. Ikolowski just ahead of him, Sobel, Anti and Grandi. This is a huge 7-8 car pack, all fighting over the last point from 10th down to 17th place. That's fascinating to see. Meanwhile, the fight for 4th, Spuda and Kubo with Rito chasing him down as well. Nothing too dramatic just yet, but we're just waiting for the first stops. Will we see any soft drivers come in? It's Spuda, the first to make a pit stop. Rito will follow him through. Julo as well, with Jake staying out. Bluebell, Andres will both stay out on their mediums. Anti might come in off his softs, no he doesn't, but Grandy does. Hetmenica weeds through, and Ikolowski using 3 tokens today, hoping to get his his 2nd points of the season. Got them last time out. Not last time out, Jesus. Mugello scored points for the team. Kamikaze, who finished 11th, that was last time out, comes up and just gets lapped by the race leader. Gives him a nasty little tag on the exit of the pit lane there, so not ideal for Jaruni, who is looking to take FVR's 2nd win of the season. Goose won in Mugello, and they could make advantage of it. Their 4 token spends looking pretty nice for race wins if they can just make the pace count. It's been a very, very good start for the Belarusian. He's gotten off the line in the first stint really nicely and not had too much opposition from this man, Urist. Let's see where they weed out. It's a very tricky pit exit. Very slow speeders who are coming out. So even if it looked like Jaruni entered turn 1 ahead of Spuda, Spuda will have a much more optimal line through it as they head into this sort of double section of hairpins through the famous Turkey Turn 8, which is no problem flat out in these cars. It's more of a acceleration zone than anything else. Spuda will weave back through. Girouni's going to hope not to lose too much time. He looks pretty okay through the final sector. Let's compare the outlaps. Girouni with a 28.88, Jurist 4/10 faster than that. Should be interesting seeing him trying to catch Girouni. He's gone a step harder on the tyres. It's the hards for Jurist. It's the medium tyre currently being utilised by Girouni. Spuda and Kubo is leading the way. He's lapped both Kamikaze and Hernandi. He'll be into the pit lane probably in a couple of laps time. Goose pits as well. Spuda needs to weave through these back markers. Oh, a very risky place to go for something there, but he did just about have the lateral grip to keep it on the track there, otherwise he could have gone sliding off into the gravel. Girouni has not been so lucky. He's been caught behind Comi and Hernandi here for the time being. Boosts past them. Don't think his teammate luckily gave him too much trouble. That hasn't lost him too much time to Juris, but when these drivers do come into the pit lane, the likes of Spuda, who is stretching those softs, no, is he not? No, he's pitted and he's come out into the lead. Has he? Blimey. Didn't even register that. Girouni is pretty close behind him. I didn't even register the fact that Spuda's come in. Of course he has. Yeah, he came in a lap earlier for his soft, but he's been able to break away from Jeru for the time being. So Spuda, as it stands, and now definitely does, lead the Turkish Grand Prix. Kubo goes into the pit lane at last. We'll have a peek in a second where he comes out, but first of all we've got this fight going on. It's Spuda versus Girouni. This is for the race lead. Kubo will come out in 6th position. Will it be 6th? Will it be 7th? Jake is going to look to make that 7th, but he does go very, very wide through that corner. Back to the front. Spuda and Girouni still fighting it out. Grandi gets in the way just a little bit. Those mediums of Girouni, can he counteract? If we pull up the tokens just one more time, we're going to see that Spuda is spending 3, Girouni is spending 4 tokens a day. The other 3 token spender is Ikolowski. He shouldn't be troubling them too much, but he is looking for some more points for Fuerza Roja. Keep that out of that relegation fight. And Hernandi and Apple Amazing, their team, trying to sink them into it. Juris has come through and he's taken the lead of the race. That's incredible. Spuda back through, as does Girouni go through. Juris gets through on Spuda at the final corner. This is a 3-way scrap, as we saw at the end in the Turkish Grand Prix last season, which I very much encourage you to go and watch. We saw a great fight between Jake, Kubo and Goose. It's Girouni, Juris and Spuda, which is quite funny because a lot of those are actually teammates of the respective drivers. But there we go. Really, really interesting to see there. So something that I was going to mention before we got a great bit of scrapping, or might mention after we get more scrapping here, is Juris goes to the outside at turn 1. Does he go deep? He does. Won't be able to make that move stick, and he just about kept it on the tarmac. Het makes a mistake. He's going to come out just ahead of Juris and cause him a couple issues through that corner, side by side through the next one, and makes Juris back off despite being a lap ahead. He doesn't really block him on the next apex, and Juris, through all of that, has lost a few tenths to the race leader. What a shock. Really interesting to see. Apple Amazing, the speak of the devil, and he's going to come out of the pit lane right into the path of Juris as well. Brilliant. 13th place for him. He's looking for KRT's highest finish of the season. That was achieved last race by Hernandi, spending a boatload of tokens as well. Only 12th for him though. 11th for Kamikaze, so luckily for them, that gap between themselves and their closest rivals will not extend past the 4 points that it already currently sits at, but they do need a pretty good performance at some point between here and into Lagos, which is a race that I could see that they're unlikely to score points in if you're involved in a relegation fight. However, don't completely put it past anybody. SFR, Super Fast Racing, with Anti and Vlad currently running for them in 9th and 11th. This team only still exists within this league because this very man was able to achieve a 5th place finish at the Brazilian Grand Prix last season, take 10 points, and that salvaged the team from deep inside a relegation battle. PMP went down and subsequently folded after leaving the league. That was really, really sad to see. After finishing bottom both years in a row, Juris and Jeru still fighting it out. Can Jeru have any response? What a great cutback into that corner, and Juris is just getting swamped by backmarkers. Anti now causing him a few problems. just a little bit, and he does decide to completely avoid that situation, go into the pit lane. Probably a wise call. Vladinator comes up, nearly takes him out. Jaruni is just ahead. We've got another three-way fight. It's Kubo this time, and he does a double overtake. Round the outside of Eurus, up the inside of Jeru as it turns into the inside for the next corner, and Kubo goes through into the lead of the race. That's unbelievable overtaking skill from him, but immediately Eurus and Jeru both get back through. Kubo is on the hards. Eurus and Jaruni go nose to tail into the pits. Which one of them will emerge ahead? It looks like it will still just be Jaruni right behind Eurus, side by side as they exit the pit lane. Who's going to be able to get the better run through the first sector? Jake Brad looks to provide some support. Can he just send a move down the inside of Jeru, delay him by a couple of tenths? Jeru into second place, net at least. Eurus third for him. Spuda and Kubo will both be behind them when they come into pit, but Kubo's strategy, catching them right at the end of their respective stints, seemed to have worked really well. If he can clear backmark as well, which is a challenge here on a very short track, 27 second lap is a few seconds shorter than most of the lap times that we have, certainly in Sunday League Virtual. Spuda chases down Kubo. This is for the on-track race lead. This will probably decide third place when they do come out of the pit lane, but it could eventually come back into it, could swing back into the favour of these drivers and come back into play for the fight for the win. Kubo right up behind Spuda, got the move done last lap, takes a bit of grass through that corner, he's going to need to avoid Hernandi, takes a narrow line into that hairpin. It's Eurus who's pretty much gapped Jeru at the moment, but will still keep on board just with these guys for the time being. Kubo doesn't get a good run through that corner. He's lost about 7 tenths of Spuda there. Got a really poor balance of the car, and I think the back end just stepped out entirely. Had to stomp on the brakes, counter steer, all that fancy technical stuff to stop the car from completely going out of control. But Eurus is back through on Kubo, whose hards are not looking in a good state, but he's still looking to provide a bit of fight. And when it rains, it pours for Spuda. For whatever it is. My point being, we've got another three-way fight for the lead. It's never just a two-car ding-dong. Spuda goes into the pit lane. It's Kubo going through and Goose right behind him. What kind of tyres is Goose on? The answer, fresh softs. Is he going to try and provide a few issues for our good friend Kubo here? If Goose can get a good run down the straight, he is using no tokens today in not a great car, but if he can just boost a little bit or just get within the vicinity of Kubo, I think the skill gap, the pace gap between a driver in a good car using 2 tokens and a bad car using none is just too great there. But Jaruni using 4 tokens, closing in right behind, needs to get through his teammate, and he does just that. Jaruni, third place for him at the moment. Eurus still leads. He is looking pretty good out in the race lead. Looks like Bluebell might have been trying to cause him some problems there. We do love it when you get a bit of teammate play. That is allowed because, and I haven't said this in many races, but there is no obligation for lapped cars to get out of the way here. They can do whatever they want, but obviously, more often than not, it is a good idea to get out of the way just in case you lose a lot of time through a crash. Kubo is into the pit lane. He just emerges out of it now ahead of Jake Brad, who's running in a pretty poor 7th place for him. No tokens led him to the win last time in Jamosh, but this is a lot tighter and a lot twistier of a track than that big flat out run through the Polish town. Speaking of Poles, here we get 2 of them, Julo and Kubo. Julo in 5th place there, which is a pretty underrated position for him to be in. Jaruni will come out of the pit lane as well. Will Jake cause him any issues? This could help out his teammate a lot if he can. Jeru looks to still have the racing line through here, just has to fend off Jake through some very high speed battling through there. Jeru is looking to pull the undercut, but Eurus has a really nice margin. Rito out of nowhere is in 3rd place. He's not made a 3rd stop yet, neither has Kubo, but could it be a beneficial result for our Polish men? Once again, Eurus out in the lead here. This has always been a good Velocity stronghold. He's decided to leave the team, but Velocity will still be looking to take that win off him if they can. Kubo, fresh mediums for him. Eurus, pretty aged ones now. Where will he emerge? Spuda, always on the alternate strategy, although his soft's not in terrible nick at the moment. Is going to look to just hold him up a little bit. Rito and Spuda go through. Kubo and Jaruni has lost touch with the lead of the race here, and it's still being caused issues by his teammate, who's now sliding all about on those softs. That is not a good place to be in. Kubo needs to get through pit crew before he gets some. Rito and Eurus are fighting it out down here. Rito takes the run off, gets a really good run through the kink. Eurus goes to the inside to close him off, leaves a gap into the apex. Rito looks to make the move there, and he will, but they're still side by side. Down the straight, will Kamikaze come out into this a little bit, but they make it through unharmed pretty much. But Rito's unoptimal, suboptimal line through that corner, that first turn, meant that he just had to kill a bit more speed, and Eurus will breeze through and take second position here on track. Rito and Kubo fighting in behind. Kubo gets the move done on his countryman now, and Rito's hards are pretty old. He's going to have to pack it in relatively soon. Spuda is into the pit lane. Speaking of packing it in, he will be behind this entire lead fighting gap. I'd not include Julo in it, so we can say that it probably has 5 contenders, with Eurus being the most comfortable, a BAV under his legs, and of course 2 tokens to help him out. Kuba gets through on his teammate there. Jaruni in 3rd place at the moment. He's made his 3rd stop. He's on hard, so it should last him a good while from now. Bluebell comes in. Andres gets a little penalty for a kerfuffle at the pit entry there. Rito also into the pit lane. That should be interesting to see if he'll emerge behind the 3rd pole, who's running in the top 6. Will he get out just ahead of Julo? Oh, Julo ducks underneath him into turn 1. That is the racing line. That is what you got to follow, and that is what got Julo up into that position. We'll take a look down the order a bit more. It's Jake, not really involved in the fight for the podium as of yet today. 7th place for him currently. 8th for the Bluebell boy. He's looking pretty good for some decent points, but he is well adrift of any serious competing higher up. Lurnator in 9th, and we've got Apple Amazing 10th place at the moment. KRT's first point of the season. Let's see how many positions he loses. Ikolowski in 11th, pits right behind him. Will he try and block him off a little bit? No, they just avoid contact in the pits. That would have been a pretty sore sight to see. Soupal in the BFX with his teammate fighting for the win is struggling in 12th place. Kubo coming up to lap, and it is Eurus in 1st, Kubo in 2nd. A bit of a gap there. Spuda and Jaruni right behind. Look at that move from Jaru, just going up the inside into that turn 7, I think it might be, but Spuda has been decimated by the Belarusian on the hard. Sobel will not make this an easy lapping for Jaruni. He has to take the nice wide line through that corner. That slowed him down just a little bit, but he's lapped faster than the car ahead and behind him on that last attempt. Even if he can't get the win today, a P2 for the FVR team would be very, very beneficial indeed. Of course, in this main Grand Prix, the sprint is a whole different kettle of fish, but you of course have still had the points awarded from that. Spuda back up the inside he goes. That's a really lovely overtaking move into that last corner. Always a great place to do it, and I think that's the reason we love Turkey, because there's so many good places to make a move. You can go side by side all you want through this sector. You can put down the power and the boost and get a good run off the top here. Will Spuda do that? Yes, he will. He goes right up to the back of Kubo, keeps with him, bit of boost, goes through the kink very, very quickly. Jaruni looking to pick up scraps here if he can. It's currently Spuda and Kubo. Kubo dives into the pit lane. Jeru has to go wide. Up the inside, turn 1 he goes. Spuda so nearly forced off the track there, but they just about keep it clean. Jeru less clean through that next corner, and this battling unfortunately is helping Eurus achieve another BAV victory. That will probably be their, I don't know how many they've had this season, but it's a lot. It really, really is a lot. And Eurus very comfortable out in 1st place. I will check for you, good viewer, how many victories they've had, excluding the sprints, of course, so far this season, and it would be 4. Wow, fair amount. Pretty much half the races so far. Eurus behind. Eurus just coming up to, I think, quadruple lap Anandi there. That's quite something. Fair enough, still in the lead of the race he goes. Spuda, Jaruni, Kubo and Rito, Julo, Jake, Brad, Bluebell and Vlad. Ikolowski and Apple Amazing. This is the fight over a single point. Remember, this would not currently be enough, as Hanandi is actually a little bit down. Let's see how far he is from his teammate. He's 2 laps down from the man running in 11th position. Of course, that being Apple Amazing. This is his first token use of the season as he goes for that 10th spot. This is a really entertaining fight, but he didn't have the grip on worn softs in a not very grippy car to get through, and he's going to have to still fight through. Komi might try and hold him up. Pit Crew and Spuda certainly will as they get lapped and Spuda laps respectively. Komi still there. He's not provided too much difficulty to Apple, but he has lost a fair amount of time. The Belarusian man to Ikoloski running in that point position. Yeah, it should be interesting to see Spuda come to the pit lane. Juris coming to the pit lane now. He will emerge behind only Kubo and Spuda. Jaruni also in, as is Rito. That's pretty interesting. All of that. That 1 point that Apple Amazing may be on course for, as he has taken the most pit stops out of anyone so far this race. It would be really interesting to see them score it. I think he should be going to the end on that final set of mediums because I think he's probably just pitted. Yeah, that would make sense. Spuda comes into the pit lane. Kubo now inherits the race lead. Aptly will come through, and that has affected his fight with Sobel just a little bit. This is over 11th. No, it's over 10th place now because I think Vlad came into the pit lane and Ikoloski in 9th. This will be really important for KRT. 9th place is their best realistic scenario with EK outside of the points. That would put them on 2 points, FUR on 4. But remember, it's all negligible if by the end of the season they cannot achieve, probably they'll need to get 5 points, or they need to get a single finish that takes them above Fuerza Roja. If they can get, let's say, 7th place in a race, they will be in a very, very good position to survive relegation, or, you know, a few 9th, 8th places. 10th, 9th places, that would also manage to do it. But Aptly, who has all of his tokens still left to spend, could commemorate his first token spend of the season with a point here today, and that would be really nice to see. Juris having a really good go at our race winner from last year. It's Kubo, and it's Juris, and it's a fight going through here. I believe Juris might have been our race winner here in Season 1, actually, or was it Hungary? It might have been that one. But regardless, always been a VLO stronghold. They are looking to take a win here. I believe Rito might have won here in Season 1, actually. That would make a bit more sense. Spuda goes through as Kubo comes in. It's just been a battle of the strategies this race. There's been actually no rain, which is really interesting. It is an option that is enabled. You can probably see, I'm not going to actually screw around with that. Maybe with Hernandi. You can see here, yeah, inters and wets very much are available, but no sight of it so far. Now I've said that, have I jinxed it? Will we get some right at the very end? Spuda has taken a stop more than Juris, but they are on very, very similar life tyres here. Softs versus mediums it is. Spuda looking to close down that gap. This could be his first win since, I believe, the Korean or Belarusian Grand Prix in Season 2. I can't remember which one was later. I think it might have been... yeah, I don't remember. Regardless, Jeru looking for another podium for FVR. They don't come very often to this team, but he's going to try and snag one today. He had a really, really good race in Monaco in Season 2. He so nearly won, bar a late issue with the rain. Will he maybe benefit a little bit off it today? He said sometimes in real life races he can benefit off that rain. He didn't do it in Montevideo, but he might do it here in Turkey. That's a whole lot of back markers to get through. Jesus Christ. As Juris comes to start lap 50 of 53. We've got 4 laps left. We've got Goose and Anti, the lapped cars. Spuda trying to get through them all, as is Jeru. And Kubo absolutely flying through that first sector using a bit of his boost. Goes out the inside of Grandi, will switch back through it. And I can tell you who's going to be on the podium in this race, because it is all looking like it's coming to a head at the very end here. If Juris mediums can stick it out, but they are older tyres. You can see Van Spuda's. That's for certain. Spuda, though, forced wide by Goose. That could be a very deliberate move to allow Jeru to get through, but he needs to worry about Kubo, and not all that far behind. Rito there as well. Jeru has been passed by Kubo just in the blink of an eye. We barely caught it on camera there, but Spuda up ahead, still being caused issues by Goose. This has allowed Kubo to come back through. Kubo still being held up by Goose. Can he do all of this work to allow his teammate to get into competition here? Jeru running in fourth. Can he make it second come the end of the race? Eurus looking to just run away with it a little bit, although Bluebell might providing some issues, with Kubo now being the car in second. He has significantly healthier soft tyres than Jeru and Spuda, and that explained his late emergence through. Will he have enough time as Eurus comes onto the very last lap? Kubo's tyres are much better. We saw him stretching these stints, going for hards when others did not, going on the alternate strategy. He's got a lot of time to make up, but Eurus has a lot of back markers to negotiate. This could be a really interesting finish. Eurus just needs to keep it clean. He's only got Sobel now ahead of him, who is running in 12th place aptly. Remember, currently on course for 9th place, but Eurus will be incredibly pleased with this. There's Kubo. It won't be enough for him. Eurus in season 3 will win the Turkish Grand Prix. Kubo takes second place after his win last season, and Spuda will be the other car on the podium. Jeru just got lost in the pack at the very end there. Rito also having a couple of difficulties. It's actually forced wide at the final corner. Giulio looks to have a good run, but it won't be enough as they get to line 5th for Rito, 6th for his countryman, and 7th place only for Jake, but he's being chased. Well, actually, he's a lap ahead of the car behind him. That is quite something. Jesus Christ. Jake takes 7th place, finishes his 53rd lap. Bluebell finishes his 52nd lap. He's still got a little bit to go in that car right ahead of him. What's the car right ahead of him in the championship? Aptly, though, still going at it here. And he's done really, really well indeed. He takes 2 points, KRT's first points of Season 3. He finishes 9th, and Vladnator will take 10th place. It is Ikoloski in 11th. Oh, sorry, I've jumped the gun on that. They've all still got a lap to go. My bad. Yeah, the results unchanged regardless. Eurus ahead of Kubo. Fastest lap for Kubo for the Velocity team. And that's a really nice race result for them. Spudo, Jaruni, Rito, Julo, Jake Brad, Bluebell, Apley, and Vladnator. Apley in his very own game takes points in Turkey. Ikoloski will be gutted to finish just a second less than that outside of the points playing positions come the very end of the race. That has done a really, really nice arrangement for KRT. They just are now 2 points, 3 points maybe away from safety, 2 points certainly away from Fuerza Roja. 12th for Anti, 13th for Andres, 14th for Het, then it's Grandy, and Sobel, very disappointing for the BFX driver, 16th place for him, Pit Crew, Goose, Kamikaze, and Hanandi. A great bit of racing. Turkey always produces it, and we've heard there might be renovations to the track next season. We'll have to keep our eye out for that. But as it stands now, this has been the race. Have BAV secured enough points to take the championship? My guess would be maybe not, but Rito and Sobel didn't score a whole lot either. I think they've probably continued it to the next round, but we'll have to wait and see. For now, I'll see you next round for round 9. Until then, bye-bye.